2026 is a good year to rethink how we approach our aquariums, not by adding more gear or chasing new products, but by making a few simple but powerful changes. Nothing complicated, nothing extreme, just simple adjustments that can make your aquarium healthier, calmer, and more enjoyable all year long. This one has the potential to transform how your aquarium looks, to make it very appealing and beautiful, and it's really easy to do. When you trim stem plants, most people replant the long cuttings back into the substrate. Instead, cut those stems much shorter. Take those short cuttings and gently place them between the older stems you just trimmed. Only let the very tip of the cutting stay visible above the bush. I know that sounds scary at first. Those new stems aren't actually planted in the substrate, and that's the key. Don't push them all the way down into the soil. When you plant long cuttings into the substrate, the tips usually end up below the old growth. That means less light and uneven growth. You also end up with stems at slightly different heights. Even when you try to match them, it's almost impossible to get them perfectly even. That's why trimmed bushes often look messy or layered instead of round. By placing short cuttings between the older stems, you control the exact height from the start. The new growth stays right where the light is strongest. The old stems support the cuttings and keep them upright, and everything grows together as one dense mass. This is how you get those clean, round, full stem bushes, not by trimming and letting things regrow on their own, and not by replanting long stems and hoping they lined up. Short cuttings let you decide the shape before the plant even starts growing again. You are guiding the bush instead of correcting it later. This is how I get my stems to look this way, and I'm positive you can do it too. This tip builds directly on what we just talked about with short stem cuttings. When you don't plant cuttings deep into the soil, you change how the plant behaves, and that behavior is perfect for achieving strong red coloration. When stem plants are planted normally, their main priority is upward growth. They push fast towards the light, and that rapid growth often leads to greener tones. When you place cuttings between older stems instead of planting them in the substrate, something different happens. The plant shifts its focus. Instead of putting all its energy into vertical growth, it starts prioritizing root development. It sends out long roots, trying to reach the substrate below. During this phase, overall growth slows down, and slower growth is exactly what red plants need. Red pigmentation in plants acts as a natural protection against strong light. The longer a plant is exposed to intense light without rapidly growing away from it, the more red pigments it produces. When plants grow too fast, they constantly move out of that high light zone. They don't stay exposed long enough to fully color up. But when growth slows, the leaves sit in that intense light for longer periods. That sustained exposure is what deepens reds and oranges. By not planting cuttings into the soil, you are intentionally slowing the plant down. You are encouraging root development before vertical growth. If you guys are enjoying the video and would like to see more content like this, remember to like and subscribe. Don't replace your substrate just because it's old. Even if you've been using the same soil for many years, it's true that substrate slowly loses its ability to provide nutrients, but that doesn't mean it has stopped being useful. Old substrate still holds a massive amount of beneficial bacteria, and it still plays a huge role in biological filtration. A lot of the filtration in your aquarium is actually happening right there, inside the substrate, not just in the filter. That substrate also acts as physical support for plant roots. It gives them structure, stability, and a place to anchor and spread. When you remove and replace all substrate, you don't just remove depleted soil, you remove a large portion of your bacterial colony, and that can easily destabilize an otherwise healthy aquarium. Instead of replacing it, use root tabs. Root tabs replenish nutrients directly where plants need them the most, at the root zone, without disturbing the biological foundation of the tank. There are many different types of root tabs, and they can be used long-term, even indefinitely, to keep plants healthy in very old setups. You could realistically run the same substrate for many years, as long as you continue supplying nutrients through root tabs. If you're currently dealing with plant issues and your soil is older than 5 years, root tabs can make a dramatic difference, almost immediately in some cases. Plants respond fast when nutrients are restored at the roots, so instead of tearing your tank apart, focus on feeding the roots, not replacing the foundation. This one is about getting out of your comfort zone. Most of us fall into routines without even realizing it. We use the same plants, the same hardscape, and very often, the same fish. We keep buying the species we already know because they feel safe. We know how to keep them, we know what they need, and we know we won't mess it up. But think about this for a second. That fish you really love right now, there was a time when you didn't know how to keep it, or you didn't even know it existed. At some point, you tried something new, you learned, and it became one of your favorites. That's the part we tend to forget. Once we get comfortable, we stop exploring, and the hobby can start feeling repetitive. Buying a new fish isn't about impulse buying or ignoring research. It's about giving yourself permission to learn again. For 2026, try giving that same chance to a different species, something you've always liked but never actually kept. Maybe a type of ram, maybe a small group of rainbow fish, maybe a species you've only seen in other people's tank. Do the research, set the tank up properly, and let yourself experience that learning curve again. You might be surprised. The next fish you fall in love with might be one you've been ignoring this whole time. Trying an Iwagumi is something I personally want to do this year. I've built Iwagumi style tanks before, but never a truly traditional one. Traditional Iwagumis don't use stem plants, and that's the hard part for me. I really like stem plants. They add movement, height, and density. So stopping myself from using them will be a challenge. The reason I want to try this has nothing to do with difficulty. It's about the feeling the aquarium gives you. Iwagumis feel calm, open, and intentional. With fewer plants, you actually see the fish more. They are not hidden behind dense growth. Their behavior becomes part of the layout. Maintenance also changes a lot. There's far less trimming, fewer corrections, and fewer things competing for your attention. The structure does most of the work. Stones create balance, scale, and flow without needing constant adjustment. We often try to build complex layouts, complicated structures, and that has real value. It pushes creativity and helps you grow as a hobbyist. But simplicity has value too. Simplicity teaches restraint. It forces you to slow down and really think about placement and proportion. For me, trying a traditional Iwagumi this year is about exploring that, enjoying a quieter, more peaceful kind of aquarium. So going into 2026, focus on doing less, not more. Small, intentional changes can make your tank look better, run smoother, and easier to enjoy.